we go. Oh, good grief. There we go. Oh, good gosh. There we go. All right, you're on.
Okay. Live. Call to order the December 12th, 2018 meeting of the library board at 4:07. In attendance today are Ken Hall, Larry Osborne, Don Wright, Jan Wallander, Scott Edwards, Nick Dierkman, and staff Maureen Cole and Denise Butcher. So welcome everybody here at the holiday season. In terms of the agenda, we do have one agenda item to add. As Mo mentioned, we will be adding discussion around the city commission meeting that we're scheduled for in January, since that happens before our next board meeting. So we want to take a little time to talk about that. Any other agenda changes? Okay. So the first order on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the November 2018 meeting. If everybody's had a chance to look at those. And if I could have a motion to adopt or approve.
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the November 2018, November 14th, 2018 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the minutes are approved. No public at the moment, so we will pass over public comment. And our first agenda item is the unattended children policy, a revision of the unattended child policy. It's unattended children, unattended policy.
Yeah,
Unattended child.
yeah, it doesn't match up, does it? Sorry.
That's okay. Which was sent, and I'm assuming that what was highlighted in yellow were the changes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I believe so. I don't have a highlighted one in front of me, unfortunately.
So the changes here, yeah, so if you want
There
to
you go.
comment on what the changes were, or why.
Well, what we've been finding is that, first of all, our age has been 8, but most of the places that allow children in the building and to be by themselves say 10, and indeed that's like, there's no official age in Oregon, but the statutory age for like babysitting is 10, or being home alone or some such thing, right? Is actually 10. I know when I had young children, I was paying attention to that, and I tried to like not let them be home alone for at least any length of time if they were under the age of 10, even if I thought they were responsible. Yep. So we wanted to change that to match, you know, what most other libraries do and what the state statutes say and everything else. And then we also wanted to like kind of make it a little more clear what kind of behavior we expected from the caregivers. And also then say like, and if you have like a sibling around who you think is going to be responsible for someone who's under 10, well, they can't just be like, you know, you have a 5-year-old and your other kid's 6. You know, that's not going to cut it. You know, so, or, you know, they are 10 and a half. They need to be at least over 11 in order to do it. So we wanted to get a little bit more specific because it's way easier to have the conversation when the expectations for how you are caring for your children is clearly stated. And that would be the inside of line of sight, keeping your child in your sight and making sure that they're like actually following the rules. You know, like you actually have to say that to people, even though that seems like it would be apparent. So,
So this
that's,
means you can't leave your kid in the children's thing and you're upstairs.
if they're under 10, technically you should bring them with you.
Yeah.
I mean, and nobody's gonna make a fuss about it if the child is well-behaved and is not scared or something like that, you know, so, I mean, you really need to know your child. In some respects, we wouldn't even, it's not like we go around asking like, are you 10? you know? You look kind of like you could be 10, but yeah, we don't do that. But if a child has a problem, can't find their parent, that does happen. So yeah, those kids shouldn't be being left alone. So this is an attempt just to get a little bit more clarity. And the other thing is this does show up in the long behavior policy, and we're gonna be reviewing that, but we really wanted to go and just take care of this piece because we've been kind of operating this way. And so we'd like it to match our actual policy.
So what kind of problems are there problems occurring now?
Well, so for instance, there are people who want to be upstairs working on the computer while they leave their 7-year-old down in the children's area. That would be like one of the most common things. And, when it's a long period of time like that, we would prefer that the parent would work on a computer in the children's area. And now we even have laptops that you can check out. That would be better, so that the child would be entertained and the parent could still work. We let kids be upstairs with their parent, but half the time they're running around like crazy people. If the parent is like focusing on the computer, it'd be better for that to be happening downstairs, So that's a kind of common scenario.
This is kind of endemic to this city because when I worked at the Carnegie Center, what was a coffee shop, art place, children's museum down there, this is exactly what would happen is that parents would come in, take their kids down to the play area like this, they'd come up and get coffee like this and sit around gas. And meanwhile, the kids are like, wow.
Well, I think some parents, and not all parents at all.
All right.
But some parents really think like we designed it that way, so that like we're the babysitters.
Yeah.
And it's really awkward to say, like, watch your kid, we're not in charge. It's like, that's your kid. This isn't gonna cut it, that behavior, So policies just kind of give us something to point to kind of inform people, to help lay it out a little bit. And we just felt like this needed more explanation.
Is this going to be handed out to parents of the community?
That's a really good question. It could be.
I'm thinking mainly because of the liability question. If a kid's running loose and the parent is upstairs looking at whatever they're looking at on the computer and the kid jabs his eye out, are you liable because you weren't watching his kid, hit her
No,
kid?
we're not liable because we're not responsible for his child.
Yeah, well, saying it's a litigious society, so. So you hand this out, you might protect a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing where you do it you post it on the website, you post it where it needs to be posted, and then on an as-needed basis. Or we could make them available at the children's desk. We're not gonna hand this to every parent that walks through the door. That would be
Yeah.
counterproductive to our business.
Expensive.
And expensive. And I think it would be really insulting for the parents who are, already understand
True.
what we expect of them, what we hope to see, so.
Well,
So I think you're right, just having it available, it is something when you have a problem. Post it on the website, it's got a good reminder of, please make sure your kids are following. These are the rules for kids in the library, which is all good.
Yeah, and I mean, we expect children to act like children, but that's the thing, they're kids, right? And there's only certain things that they're capable of, and that's why they need adults around to help them. So, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy behavior that we put up with all the time. It's not a problem, mostly. But like if a child is, crying and scared and those kinds of things, well, or beating up on another kid, destroying property.
Do you really have kids that are left at the end of the day?
No,
Not at the end of the day.
no,
No.
no.
I was like, okay.
No, we don't. We've never have, but we would call the police, obviously. And we have a policy that talks about that. Yeah.
do you get just the stray kid coming in from the neighborhood without this? Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of kids who walk there from
Yeah.
home, and there's only been a couple of times when it turned into an adventure. I just remember there was a time when somebody's big sister was supposed to be babysitting him, and he left the house and walked to the library. And it was, yes, hijinks ensued. So, I mean, I can't remember how we figured that out, but he was wandering around and, look, we talk to kids, you know, we don't just like say, oh, I sure hope he's not lost. We talk to them, so.
Any other questions or comments?
You
on
wanted
the
to change
policy?
a sentence, Larry.
Yeah,
What did you
I
want to
did have a
change?
comment. The last sentence of the policy assumes that all minor caregivers are a part of a group. And I think it would be more clear if that began, if a minor caregiver visits the library, or if a child visits a library as part of a group, and if a minor caregiver is unable to adequately supervise. So add if the child is part of a group. Because otherwise, the assumption is that they are, and they'll always be an adult caretaker.
Okay.
So we have a case of a 12-year-old that's supervising a 6-year-old and is not performing adequately. This would imply that you have to talk to the leader of the group, but if there's no group, then there's left without guidance.
Okay. Does that seem,
Yeah, and it, you know, and if there's a 12-year-old supervising a 6-year-old and they came by themselves and there was problems, we'd kick them out, is what we do. Yeah, we'd just say, you know, this behavior can't continue, you're out of here for the day. We'd probably give them like 10 warnings to start with, so don't feel like we're bad people. We give them lots of times, way more warnings than we should be, but anyway.
any other comments, changes? So this would be a policy where the board needs to adopt the policy for the library, so we'll need a vote by the board.
I move to approve the policy
As written or
with the changes.
modified?
So it's been moved to approve the policy with the changes as proposed. Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to approve the policy with the changes as discussed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any nay? Any abstentions? Okay. So
Great,
policy
thank
is
you.
adopted or approved for. And probably it's time for us to pause.
Yeah,
So
it's-
where were we on the agenda? Let me go back to looking at what's left.
We
That
only
is-
have to look at statistics, which we don't
Statistics.
need to do, we could pass that off till next time. And we do need to talk about the discussion of the city commission meeting, and we can like kind of squeeze that in between or after.
Yeah.
if you
So we'll
want.
assume it'll be after. We'll kind of see how the
Okay,
interviews go.
All
They
right.
kind of flow together.
so I'm gonna pause the meeting for a moment, and we'll allow the AV person to do what he needs to do. I'm gonna mute all the mics.